Hi guys, it's Melissa with Untitled Homestead. Welcome and thanks for being here today. Today I am going to be making some corn relish. One of the things that we really like to put our corn relish on is our salads. But corn relish can be used anywhere. You can use it in place of a salsa. It's really good. I am making the recipe that I made last year, and I can leave a link up top. I'm making it the recipe from the complete book of home preserving by Ball, one of our favorite books that we've been learning and using a lot of recipes from. So today I'm actually going to make a double recipe. Now I've made it before, but I still have to look at the recipe because I'm not sure about the measurements. I do know that I need 4 cups of corn kernels, and to double that I need 8 cups of corn kernels. So here I have this big bowl of corn kernels that I defrosted. So if you guys would like to see us freezing our corn, we did corn on the cob, we froze corn, we pressure canned corn. So if you'd like to see any of that, I can leave a link up top so you guys can check that out too. So let's get going. Here is our corn. I'm probably going to give you guys a better view too, so just hang on a second. Alright, so I have my pan here. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to get 8 cups of vinegar and 2.5 cups of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of salt. Actually, correction, that's 4 tablespoons of salt because I've been doubling the recipe. Alright. So now that that's in our pan, we're going to get that on the stove so we can get that heated up and have the sugar all dissolved into the water before we actually put in our next ingredients. So let's get this over to the stove. Alright, so we got our pan on. Oh, can't see you guys. There we go. So we have our pan on, so we're going to get that going. Now I'm using my pressure canner today because I have a lot of jars, so I don't want to do tons of batches. I just want to put them all together so that they can all cook at the same time. So that's why this is going, because there's a lot of jars in here and it'll take a little while for it to heat up because there's a lot of water in there. So even though I'm using my pressure canner cooker, you still have to make sure that when you're canning your jars, the water has to be over the top of the jars for a water bath. So it's not the same as the pressure can. So just look at your book or your canner directions to make sure that you're doing and following the right thing. Alright, now that my vinegar, sugar, and salt is up to a boil, I'm going to add my corn into the pan. Alright, I already have this measured out, so this is a double batch. This is 8 cups of corn kernels. So we're going to drop those in there. Okay. Those in there. The next thing that we're going to be putting in is our peppers. So once we get the corn, the peppers, the onions, and the celery in, we need to bring this back up to a boil again. Okay, the onions and the celery. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean this bowl out. And then I'm going to mix it all together. And this is on medium-high heat. So once this comes back up to a boil, then it'll be time to add in our spices. our turmeric, our celery seed, and our mustard. Alright guys, my vegetables have come up to a boil, so now it's time to add the spices. Alright, so I need 4 tablespoons of dry mustard. So there's 1. 2. 3. 4. Alright, so there's our dry mustard. Alright, so our turmeric is 2 teaspoons. So I'm going to be adding 4 teaspoons. Okay. And then our celery seed is also 4 teaspoons. Alright, just going to give that a quick stir so that all gets mixed in there. Okay, so now that that's mixed in there, it's actually time to add the clear gel to it. So when I do the clear gel, you mix it with water. So right here, the original recipe calls for 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons. So now I need to add another 1/4 cup. So now I have 1/2 cup, and I'll be adding 4 tablespoons of clear gel to this. So if I get my clear gel right here, and 4. So basically you're just going to mix that up so it turns into a paste. It's just like cornstarch. It's just that this clear gel is safe for canning purposes. Alright, so I have that all mixed in. So that it's ready to pour into my pot. Now once this goes into the pot and I stir this in, this is going to continue to boil for about 5 more minutes, and then we're going to take it off the heat and get ready to start canning in our jars. So if you guys take a look at this, you can see that it's actually starting to thicken up. Alright, so we are going to let that boil for the 5 minutes, and then I will come back and we'll start canning our jar. Alright, so my corn relish is ready to be canned. So I'm going to start pulling out my jars so that I can get this into the jars so that we can process them. Alright. So now, like I said, I'm using my pressure canner to water bath my corn relish today so that I can do them all in the same batch. If you remember, I told you that I wanted to make one with jalapenos in it. So what I did is I had dehydrated jalapenos and 1 red pepper that I had mixed together. And these are peppers that we had grown in our garden this year. So I'm just rehydrating them in a little bit of warm water, which they're pretty much just about ready. So I'm going to empty out the warm water and drain those before I actually put them in. But before I put those in there, I do want to get 6 jars filled with the corn relish because I don't want the corn relish to be all hot. I only want a little bit of it. Alright, so let's turn this burner off. Give it another stir. You guys can check that out. That's what our corn relish looks like right now. Okay, so the other thing to keep in mind is that you really want to follow what the recipe says. Now this says that it should be about a 1/2 inch of headspace. So we can probably add just a tiny bit more in there. Then we're going to wipe off our jar. We're going to add a clean lid. And a new ring. So with these jars, you twist until you can't really twist anymore. It becomes tight that it's spinning the jar around, and then you do finger tight. And that is ready to go into the canner. But before I put that in there to process, we're going to fill up the rest of these jars. Alright guys, so now that I've filled up my 6 jars with the regular corn relish, I'm going to add my jalapenos to the second half of this batch. So I'm going to turn the heat back on just really quickly so I can get those mixed in there. Now this mixture is still pretty hot, but I want it to come back up to a boil so I can get the hot peppers incorporated into this second batch that we're going to can. Alright, so that while that's coming up to a boil, it shouldn't take very long, I'm actually going to put the jars that I've already filled into our canner. Alright, so that is 6 pint-sized jars of regular corn relish. So I'm going to wait till this comes up to a boil, which it's actually already boiling. So we're going to get going on filling the rest of our jars so that we can get this processing. Alright, so now that I got my jars all full, we are going to get them all in the canner so that we can start the processing. Alright, so let's turn that heat back up. I'm going to add my divider because this is going to have double layer of jars. So it's going to take a little while for it to come back up to a boil. But I know as soon as I add all these jars in there, I'm going to have to add a little bit more water because it's not going to be over the tops. And when you're water bath canning, you want the water to be over the top of the jars. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more water because it's not completely covered, and then I'm going to put the cover on. Alright. So now that our jars are completely covered, we have our lid. Alright. So we're going to get our lid on there. And because we are just water bath canning today, and I'm not pressure canning, I have my vent open and I'm not using any weights. So it's just as it is. So that way all that steam can come out. Alright, so once this comes up to a boil, then we're going to process this for 20 minutes, I believe. I need to double check the book, but I'm pretty sure it's 20 minutes. So alright, so when this starts boiling, I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so now that our canner is boiling, I did check the book again. So the processing time is only 15 minutes, but the total time is 20 minutes. So I just got those mixed up. But we're going to start the timer for 15 minutes. And then once that is done, then you turn the heat off, take the cover off, and let it sit for 5 minutes. So there's your 20 minutes of time. Alright guys, my jars are ready. They've processed for 15 minutes and they've been sitting with the heat off for 5 minutes. So now they're ready to come out of the canner. So let's take a look. Oh, take a look at that. That looks so good. Alright, so now that I got all those out, I'll give you guys a look to see what they look like all together. I ended up with a few extra jars. Sometimes the recipe makes a little bit more than what you're anticipated, so I always make sure that I heat up extra jars anyway. But let me give you a look at that. Put this down. Alright, so don't those look really good? I thought so. So again, this recipe is coming from the Complete Book of Home Preserving by Ball. Really good book, a lot of good recipes. I wanted to thank you guys again for joining me and spending this time making corn relish. I think that if you try it yourself, you'll really enjoy it. It's got a really good flavor. Like I said, we enjoy it a lot on salads. We've put it on hot dogs before. We've used it on hamburgers. You can use it as like a regular salsa. It's really good. Alright, so the other thing that I wanted to mention is I'm very excited about because we have reached 100 subscribers. So it doesn't seem like a lot, and it seems like we've been at this for a while, but 100 subscribers is huge for us. So we're not giving up. We're continuing to plug away at it. There'll be more videos coming. Eric's out there hunting today, so I'm sure he'll be showing you some of that. But we're continuing to learn and just do whatever we need to do to become really good homesteaders. We are very thankful for your continued views, and for those who have subscribed to our channel, thank you so much. It really does help a lot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will catch you on the next one, guys. Alright, thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye.